say, pagbebenta ng mobile phone, so ito yun, o pagbebenta ng mga packet wifi, yun yung mga non-service revenue. Mga service revenue naman is later, i-discuss natin yung meron tayong activity dito. And after we have identified the significant and material APCO-TDS or account balances and carries of transaction and disclosure, we are going now to identify the assertion. FS line, assertion, and then if we already have identified the assertion, that's the only time that we are going to identify the wrongs or the risk of material misstatements on that assertion. So, on the service revenue, we have identified the cutoff, occurrence, and completeness, and now we are going to check what is the correct assertion, the risk of material misstatement on that specific assertion. So whether it's higher, lower, or significant risk. Okay. So here, the next item that we are going to, the next step that we are going to look at is the identification. Again, higher, lower, and significant. So ano ba yung mga kailangan i-consider when we are tagging an assertion as lower, higher, or significant? So number one na nakita natin dyan is whether it is complex account. I-check din natin dyan if in the past ba, meron ba siyang history of misstatement. So for example lang nakikita natin yung account is let's say payroll expenses. Yung payroll expenses is actually very routinary yun, di ba? Parang okay, kada kinsena sa sahod, kada 30 or 31 sa sahod yung mga empleyado, etc. And then, ang nagko-compute niyan, computer or IT system nila. Okay? So, and then, yung calculation naman is hindi naman siya ganoon ka-complex. So, makita natin sa kanya na okay, hindi siya complex, and then routinary naman siya. Yung number of employees is walang nagre-resign. Same number of employees for the rest of the 10 years. Same number of employees, walang nagre-resign. Wala rin napopromote. So, same rate din. So, imposible yun na. But, for example, for the sake of our discussion, ganoon yung instance natin. But, nakita natin based on our understanding of the process and based on our understanding of the IT application, there are always na hindi natin maintindihan, maybe because the control is not working effectively. Based on our understanding of the process and our past experience, laging may misstatement. Ang adjustment na nakikita natin sa payroll process man lang o sa salary expense na yon is always 100 adjustments. Okay, question. Ano ang proper na classification on the payroll or the salary expense? Is it higher or lower? What do you think? Again, ang background natin is yung payroll expense is routinary siya, 15, 30. Number of employees, the same for the last 10 years, parehas din, 10 employees pa rin. Walang napopromote, wala rin nade-demote, same increase, walang nag-i-increase ng salary, but may nakita tayong misstatements every year na at least 100 adjustments on the payroll expense account. So what do you think is the proper risk level or for that specific ROM? Ang ROM natin is for accuracy and completeness. So is it lower or higher? Basic example natin. Again, please respond to everyone. So, Miss Ethel and Nina can monitor your responses. So, ano sa tingin nyo ang tamang sagot? Is it lower or higher based on the case facts na sinasabi ko kanina? What do you think? Higher or lower? Okay. So, well, I don't know kung may sumasagot sa inyo, Miss Ethel and Nina, dun sa pinag-usapan natin. But the answer is it's better. Thank you, Aliana at Bayani. So, her answer is higher. So maybe it's appropriate for you to assess that risk for payroll, although although it's not complex, konti lang naman yung number of transactions, etc. But because that account has significant number of misstatements in the past, then it may be appropriate for you to assess the payroll expense to be a higher risk. So, yun ang mga, again, kailangan natin consider lahat-lahat all throughout our audit process when we are performing our risk assessment for that specific account. So, we are now here on this part, yung identification and assessment of risk of material misstatements. Again, it is per line item and per assertion. Yung risk of material misstatements natin are higher, lower, or significant. We are not going to dig deeper on the group audit scoping. So, yung group audit scoping naman is ginagamit natin siya when we have reporting to, when we are part of if we are part or we are part of a group, then we are providing some reference instruction to the component. So, yun yung group audit naman is, sabi niya is, kailan ba kailangan mong i-consider yung component na yun as a significant component, and ano ba yung mga dapat natin na i-perform na mga procedure when we think that our audit is constitute a group audits. So, yung group audit. So, hindi tayo mag-dig deeper doon. We are going to directly to the execution of substantive and internal control procedures. So, again, ito is, process mo tayo after we have understand the process, we have understand the IT application, we have already engaged our IT specialist, we have also already identified the significant account and disclosure, and identify and assess the risk of material misstatements on per FS line item, per account, and then per assertion level. We have also tested the design, the implementation, and whether the controls are operating effectively. So, ito na yun, sabi natin dito sa controls. Then, we are now going to execute our substantive procedures and internal control procedures. So, here, tara muna tayo sa the planning substantive procedures. So, the following. So, here on the slide, what information do we consider in order to plan our substantive procedures? So, the following are the information that we are going to consider in planning our substantive procedures. The first one is the flow of transactions. Ito yun. The nature of the balances and the transactions in the process. So, we need to have an understanding of the flow of the transactions, which also provides us with an understanding of the information used by the management to support the financial statement line item. The second one is the result of our risk assessment procedures. The understanding and the assessing the risk of material misstatements or the ROMs related to the account balances, classes of transactions, and disclosures or the ABCO TDs, including the completion of our risk assessment documentation, is critical to design the appropriate substantive procedures. It is important for us to understand how the substantive procedures that we will be performing to address the identified risk, even if sometimes we are not the one performing the risk. So again, this one on our risk assessment procedures, it is important because it will dictate us what is the appropriate substantive procedures. Not all substantive procedures are appropriate for you to perform. So for example of it is royalty. So yung royalty kasi, ang nature ng account na yun is you are going to pay a certain percentage whenever you make, whenever you sell service or a good to the one who provides you the royalty, di ba? So, again, in that scenario, ang better na substantive procedure dyan is substantive analytical procedure and not test of detail or you're going to vouch it to address the completeness. Why? Because again, yung substantive procedure kasi, we need to look at ano ba yung pinaka-effective way or efficient way for us to address that risk. That risk on royalty is actually na capture ko ba lahat ng royalty expense ko? Ganun siya, di ba? And the best way for you to test it is actually yung substantive analytical, meaning sales times the percentage of royalty equals the royalty expense, and then you compare it with your amount in the trial balance. So, ganun siya i-compare. It is more efficient to perform than to get the royalty expense and then I vouch it to the supporting documents, because the assertion that you are comparing or you are testing is the completeness and then the accuracy. Yun yung mas effective or mas efficient na way of designing the substantive procedure. And then the third one would be the plan, control, reliance strategy, and the results of your control testing. Again, this one, as I think we have also mentioned this one before, di ba? That when we design and successfully execute the procedures to test the operating effectiveness of the controls that addresses the risk of material statement, we may alter the nature, time, and extent of the substantive procedure. So, for example, here, our strategy is to rely on the control, and then the result of the control testing is effective. So, ang magiging impact kasi niya on our substantive procedure is when we can rely on the control, meaning the control is working effectively, then the number of samples for our substantive testing will be much lower than the control when the control is not working effectively. Kasi kumbaga, ang kailangan isipin dyan is, okay, alam mong nagre-rely alam mong nag-work properly yung control, di ba? And that relies on the control will have an impact on your performance on the substantive testing. Para sa sabi ng standard is, okay, pwedeng konti na lang i-test mo kasi you know that the control is working effectively. So, yun yung sasabi nito dito. Again, if it always depends whether you plan to adopt a control reliance approach, and then, of course, the result of your control testing. And then here we have the applicable accounting literature and relevant auditing standards. So, for example, here understanding the applicable accounting literature is important in designing effective substantive testing. Yes, good morning, Christy of PUP Taguig. Important in designing effective substantive procedures that assess the application of that accounting guidance. And it is also important for us to understand the relevant auditing standards, because there are certain substantive audit procedures prescribed by the standard. So here, an example of it is there are some standards or accounting standards. Say we talk about when you are reporting under the Japanese SOX, the the SOX, the GSOX. So for GSOX, even though you are not going to rely on the control, you are required to perform control testing because it is required by that accounting standard. So kailangan natin i-consider yung mga on our substantive procedure, our test of control, yung mga applicable accounting literature and relevant auditing standards. So yun yung kailangan i-consider when we are performing our substantive testing. Now, when we are performing our substantive testing, ang pinaka-important dito is yung mga audit evidence na gagamitin natin in our substantive testing. So when we are performing, so here overview of audit evidence. So as we encounter different types of information throughout the audit, we perform audit procedures on this information to produce audit evidence. Now, ang pinaka-purpose natin on performing the information, as well as why we are performing audit procedures is for us to come up with audit evidence. That audit evidence is the one that will support the opinion that we will issue to the management, and also support whether we are saying that the financial statements is a clean opinion or unmodified opinion. Audit evidence consists of both information that supports and corroborates management assertion and information that contradicts such assertion. When it comes to using information in an audit procedure, nothing should be automatic. Professional judgment and skepticism are key to turning information into audit evidence. So again, I would like to emphasize on that one, that it is important for us to use our professional judgment and professional skepticism for us to have a high quality audit evidence. Evidence is critical throughout the audit, and it contributes to the identification and assessment of risk of material misstatements at the assertion level, our assessment of the design and operating effectiveness of internal controls, as our conclusions on substantive procedures. Okay, so may I also request, like, everyone, if, for example, we are discussing, maybe please mute yourself, but if you want to share something to the group, then please feel free to come unmute. So here, as I mentioning, our overall conclusion on which the basis of our opinion is based on the audit evidences that we have obtained throughout the audit. So question again, guys, please use the group chat natin. And again, do not address or direct message it to me for monitoring purposes. This is the scenario. So throughout our audit, we are obtaining audit evidences. So let's say whether it's contradicts or support our or corroborates. So the antonym of corroborates is the contradict. So contradicts or supports or corroborates, contradicts the management assertion. So for example, we have obtained an audit evidence that contradicts the management assertion. The management assertion is, di ba, assertion naman, alam natin, is completeness, accuracy. In our example, the management assertion is, okay, yung revenue na nakalagay sa financial statements ko are complete and accurate. So yun yung management assertion. But we have received an evidence that contradicts that assertion of the management. What do you think is the best way for us to handle those contradictory evidences? It is, kasi kunyari ikaw, malapit ka na matapos sa audit, di ba? Nasa substantive testing na tayo. And nakita natin na yung malapit na tayong matapos sa audit natin, is it better for you to ignore those contradictory evidence because I already received all those corroborating evidences? Let's say I have around maybe 5 corroborating evidences saying that the management assertion that the revenue is accurate and complete. Yun. But there's one time when I'm performing my inquiry with a client, let's say, nag-inquiry, and during the course of your audit, you receive an information na contradictory siya. So question, students, tama ba na i-ignore natin yung contradictory evidence na yun because I already have 5 corroborating evidence? Yes or no? Yes or no lang ang sagot natin dito, ha? Yes or no lang. Because, again, the question is, can you justify that the contradictory evidence that you have received is not sufficient for you to revisit your strategy because of the 5 corroborating evidence that you already received throughout your audit? Ano ang tama sagot? Is it yes or no? Tama bang i-ignore yun or hindi? That one contradictory evidence. No po, sabi. No. Okay. Okay. Ang tamang sagot ay no. We should always consider all evidences, whether it's contradictory or whether it's corroborating evidence. When we receive a contradictory evidence, it doesn't necessarily mean na okay, mali na ginawa mong procedure. The best thing that you need to do is you need to evaluate the impact of that contradictory evidence. Kasi pwede kasi na yung contradictory evidence na yun is an outlier lang naman, di ba? But the important thing is we need to consider everything, whether it's contradictory or corroborating audit evidence. Okay? So thank you for those who participates. And now we move on the again on the audit evidences. Here here's the composition of the audit evidence. The sufficiency, it is we talk about the amount of the audit evidence, and the appropriateness, again the quality of the audit evidence we obtain is correlated to the assessed level of risk, whether it's higher, lower, or significant, that we are trying to address. Now here, as depicted on the screen, we have various types of audit procedures at our disposal that we can use in varying degrees. Based on our professional judgment, we accumulate evidence until we are satisfied that we have achieved our audit objective. Ano bang audit objective natin? For us to obtain an appropriate and sufficient audit evidence to support our audit opinion. Yun ang naman nasisip natin eh. Yun ang hindi siyang bata nag-perform ng audit. Typically, as risk increases, we would require more evidence or evidence of a higher quality to respond to that risk. So again, if for example, as the risk go high, makita mo siya dito, mas mataas yung kailangan mong evidence for you to support yung risk na yun. So as you can see here, kapag yung risk mo for a specific assertion is a significant risk or a higher risk, then yung substantive procedure mo is actually mas mataas siya. So ito dapat is mas mataas yung substantive procedure na diniderive mo dyan. The visual on this slide portrays the composition of audit evidence we gather to address a wrong which can vary based on facts and circumstances. The cylinders in this graphic depict our assessment of risk, our test of controls, the substantive testing procedures all play a role in our evaluation of audit evidence, but the composition of evidence from each may change depending on the circumstances. So as you can see here, as I mentioned a while ago, sorry. Oops, yan. Okay. Kapag mas mataas, let me just share this one. This one. So again, kapag no ROMs, meaning no risk of material misstatement, meaning assessment of risk lang kailangan natin i-document. But as the risk go higher, kailangan mas makakuha ng mas malaking audit evidences through your substantive procedures or through your test of controls as depicted in this slide. So as we consider our substantive testing procedure. So again, may mga combination tayo ng mga substantive procedures. So ano ba may example natin ng substantive procedure? It includes test of details. Ito yung mga tracing to supporting documents, yung vouching to the supporting documents, etc. We also have the substantive analytical procedure. Kumbaga, yun yung parang ang term that is you are correlating yung account na yun to another account, and then you're performing some analytical procedure. We have also the cycle-based procedure and other data-driven substantive techniques. So we have several procedures, substantive testing procedures for us to obtain audit evidences of high quality as well as sufficient to support our audit opinion. It is important to perform a thoughtful and professionally skeptical evaluation of any information that we may use in our audit procedures, and this helps widen our thought process with respect to the evaluation of all information, considering the fact that with evolving technologies now we have a wide range of information available for our audit purpose. Because there is more information available to us because of this one, it is important to emphasize that we only evaluate the information that is relevant to our audit and ultimately used in our audits, and not information that may be produced by the entity. And we distinguish the information on its source and other characteristics in order to better guide the procedures to be performed and turn the information into audit evidence. Again, not all information are audit evidences. We need to exercise our professional skepticism as well as our professional judgment to ascertain that that information, like discuss natin dito, that information after applying audit procedure is actually an audit evidence that is sufficient as well as of high qualities to support our audit opinion. Now, here again, balik tayo sa audit process natin. Yeah. So, nandito na tayo sa execution of substantive and internal control. So, here, before we move on the conclude and reporting part of our workshop, we are going to have a case study muna. So, as I mentioned before, we have, in your briefcase, you have the case facts, and you also have the annual integrated report or the annual report of Globe Telecom. So I'll give you maybe around 10 minutes to read through the case facts. So I think nasa Word file siya, diba? So for 10 minutes, and we are going to have our group discussion then after this one. So I believe that you have the case facts like this one. This one. This is the case facts. Can I confirm, everyone, if you have received your case facts, this one? Yung pinapakita ko sa screen? Na-receive nyo ba siya, guys? Yes? Okay. Good. Okay, may nag-heart pa. Thank you sa heart. So, basahin nyo siya. I will be giving you 10 minutes to read through the case facts, and you can also look at the integrated audit annual report of Globe. So you can refer to page 211. So yung 211 is the financial statements of Globe. You start na. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes, and we'll regroup by 10 a.m. Okay?